So, a little over a month ago, I finally managed to complete Days Gone. It took me a very long time to complete the game because I only managed to get time to play on weekends. And yeah, the game is long, and the experience is something that I really wanted to share with you guys on the channel. So, yeah, let's get started. The very first thing that I would like to say about my experience with the game is that I really loved the graphics and the performance. It was really solid in terms of performance, and the looks were amazing, stunning actually, almost like RDR2 kind of quality, and really impressive overall. Had no issues in terms of performance, which is something that I really appreciate. Moving on to the gameplay, I really enjoyed it right from the get go. It was really fun, the stealth mechanics were fantastic, and the melee combat was amazing. The gunplay was really cool too. But the problem for me personally was the fact that getting the good guns takes way too long, and when you're playing only on weekends and trying to make some meaningful progress, it feels like it's taking forever. So, am I criticizing the game here? Well, no, not at all actually. I'm just letting you know that it's a game that starts slow, and because of the fact that I had little time to play, I was only able to give it about 1.5 hour per week. It felt painfully slow to me personally, which was something that was preventing me from falling in love with the title right away. And once I got my hands on that first rifle, that's when the game really took off for me. The game features various survivor camps, and in order to buy or upgrade stuff, you need to build trust with these camps. Building trust with a camp involves completing missions, completing bounties like killing zombies and hostile humans, and then bringing food for the camp and stuff like that, which is a slow process, especially in the beginning when you don't have good guns and stuff, and you have to basically rely on stealth all the time. Once I got my hands on the first assault rifle, things were really speedy for me personally. I never had any issues after that. The game features three skill trees: melee, ranged, and survival, and I absolutely love them. Not just because you can strengthen your character and turn him into a complete badass, but also because getting skill points is something that I found to be quite easy actually, especially when you're using stealth. It was very easy to get the skill points. In simple words, I never felt that the progression in terms of the skill trees was slow because I was constantly making steady progress there. All the three skill trees were fantastic, giving some really cool abilities and stuff. I initially focused on melee, followed by ranged, and then finally survival. Apart from combat, I also really enjoyed the fluid movement. It feels really natural and smooth, and running costs stamina, and there is a stamina meter present as well, and your melee attacks also consume the stamina, so you have to keep an eye on it. And then there is this focus meter as well, which is kind of like bullet time, and it works really well as well, especially when you're dealing with a large number of zombies called freakers in the game. Then you also have this really cool survival vision, which is similar to the detective vision from the Batman Arkham games. It highlights items of interest around you as well as the enemies and helps you track animals and people. Then comes the bike, which plays a major role throughout the game as the protagonist is a member of a biker gang. The driving mechanics are great. I really enjoy driving in the game, and the bike is fully upgradable via the camps, and yeah, you need trust for that. I never faced any frustrations because of the bike upgrades because my focus initially was towards getting the assault rifle, and after that getting the bike upgrades was kind of easy for me personally. I really like the way the bike plays such a major role throughout the game. You can save your progress at the bike, you can use it for fast travel, and you obviously drive around on it. And the driving mechanics are great, the upgrades are fantastic. The bike is actually a fantastic feature of the game and done really well. Then the zombies, or the freakers as they are called in the game, they reminded me of the infected from the 2007 movie I Am Legend. Their numbers, they increase significantly at night, and they look very similar to the infected from that particular movie. In numbers, they are actually scary as hell. I was free roaming pretty early on in the game, and I accidentally ran into a horde, and it was scary. The entire experience, it was really scary, and it was a quick death actually. And that was the reason why I focused on getting my first assault rifle instead of going after the bike upgrades, because I never wanted to be in that situation ever again. I desperately wanted to get my hands on a gun with which at least I could create an opening in order to get out of a situation like that. As that early horde encounter actually left a sense of fear within me, I was always very careful out there afterwards, and I was never comfortable, which is something that I actually loved, as you want a sense of dread from a game like this, and I think it was perfect. I love zombie shooters, killing tons of zombies in games, but in this game, even with a machine gun in my hands, I was like really careful while dealing with zombies. Their speed, their numbers, everything is really intimidating, and I've seen them try to dodge bullets, which is crazy. So basically, the freakers are actually quite challenging to deal with, especially the hordes. I personally found stealth to be the best way to deal with the freakers in general, followed by melee weapons since they are really effective in dealing with freakers. And when it comes to guns, I actually only use them when I absolutely had to, like against hordes, wild animals like bears and wolves and whatnot, and human enemies, of course. And outside of hordes against freakers only when there was no other option, since stealth kills give you more XP, and then the sound of your weapons attracts a ton of zombies, so it's not exactly a great idea to, fire your weapon when you can actually rely on stealth and take out your enemies and freakers quietly without making any noise. Stealth is fun and it is rewarding as well. But because I ran into a horde early on in the game, I desperately wanted to have a good gun on me as quickly as possible so that I can at least have a chance to escape in a bad situation. The freakers actually had an upper hand on me throughout the game, and even after getting guns, I was not very comfortable out there. I was looking for upgrades for guns, for which you need more trust, and then I was looking for better guns, and then I was looking for upgrades for those guns, which means that the danger, it was always there. Basically, the game never felt easy to me personally. Even after leveling up and unlocking the skills and whatnot, the sense of danger was definitely there, which is something that I love. It never felt too difficult, but it wasn't a walk in the park either, which is fantastic. I found the special infected in the game to be not so special. I mean, they're okay. One of them is actually introduced in a really cool story mission, which had an awesome build up, and I was expecting this huge boss battle, really challenging boss battle. But what I got in the end was kind of funny to me personally, and really underwhelming too with the kind of build up that they had going into that particular encounter. I'm gonna give a bit of a spoiler here. Lots of soldiers dead in a cave, and you're expecting something really dangerous lurking in there, and you're really, really cautious with every step that you're taking, that you're gonna come face to face with death itself, and what you run into is really, really underwhelming. So it was surprising to me personally. I don't really have any major issues with it. It was actually unique, without doubt, unexpected, and it was definitely something that I wanted to mention here, so I did. The special infected are actually introduced much later in the story, and there is a reason for that. The infected, they are mutating through the course of the story, so it takes a while to, for them to turn into these special creatures. And one of the special infected is a very heavy, bulky guy, and he takes a lot of damage before going down. Thankfully, the melee skill tree has got a particular skill that you can unlock, which allows you to take him out using stealth, which is exactly what I did. I never had any issues with the special infected, I just found them to be much less impactful. When it comes to the infected, the hordes are actually the real superstars. Dealing with the hordes for the first couple of times is absolute chaos and panic. It's really challenging, really thrilling, and really fun too, and gives a real cool sense of accomplishment once you manage to take them out. Then taking out freaker nests was really fun too. I really enjoyed it. Being completely stealthy and taking out multiple nests in an area was incredibly fun, and I overall really enjoyed the stealth mechanics. They really felt complete. You've got distractions like throwing rocks and stuff to, distract your enemies and zombies, and then you've got the binoculars using which you can track your enemies by marking them, which was fantastic and really helpful. The melee combat was really fun and effective, especially against the freakers, because of the fluid movement, the ability to roll and stuff. It really felt perfect. The gunplay was fantastic when dealing with the human enemies, which is something that you're gonna do a lot in this game. Simple third person cover based shooting. Nothing typical at all, but when it comes to dealing with freakers, especially the hordes, it can be quite challenging because of their numbers, their speed, something that I've already discussed earlier. But the game does give you the focus mechanic as well as a ranged skill tree along with a wide variety of explosives to, assist you in dealing with the hordes. So it's not exactly a huge problem, but the gunplay itself can feel a bit off when dealing with too many freakers around you. Overall, the gameplay is really fun. One thing that I forgot are the Nero checkpoints. Figuring out the correct procedure of unlocking the Nero checkpoints was really fun, and it was really rewarding too. You get to choose between stamina, health, or focus upgrades. Really helpful, and the way they did it, it was fantastic. Then a few things that I'm not a big fan of when it comes to the gameplay include the fact that you can pick up weapons dropped by your enemies but can't store them in weapon locker nor upgrade them, which is something that I actually found quite stupid. I mean, you used an inferior weapon to take out somebody with a much better weapon, and you can't store it, you can't upgrade it. I had this machine gun that I picked up from a fight that takes place at a dam, and later on there was this mission where I had to pick up a sniper rifle, and as soon as I picked up that sniper rifle, this machine gun that I had on me for a while was just gone. It just vanished. Later on, I had to buy that same weapon, which is something that really doesn't make any sense to me personally, and I hated it. After that, you have these random events that happen all across the map, and you have this question mark that pops up on the map to let you know, and you have to get there in time. And if you manage to do so, most of the times you get a chance to earn a decent amount of trust with any particular camp that you choose. But I found it incredibly difficult to get there in time. Most of the times a pop-up would appear, and by the time I get there, it's just gone, there's nothing there, which was really annoying actually. One more thing that kind of really annoyed me was the roadside traps. I would constantly drive into them, fall off the bike took damage, and I was ambushed by bandits. So it was a trap that I ran into often. It was okay for the first few times, but after a while I got kind of tired of it. Happened a bit too much with me. At times I did manage to avoid the traps, but mostly I just ran into them. It wasn't anything too bad, but definitely felt annoying to me because it happened a bit too often. On multiple occasions while driving out there in the open world, I was shot off my bike by enemy snipers, and it was something that never annoyed me. But the wire trap thing, it happened a bit too much with me, maybe because I was not very careful while driving, but I was kind of tired of it and was not a fan of it. Then the side missions can actually feel a bit repetitive. I don't really have any issues with it because what do you expect from a game like this? The missions are always going to be kind of similar. The main missions or the story missions are actually fantastic. I personally don't have any major issues with the gameplay at all. I think the gameplay is fantastic. It's just that building trust with camps is something that takes a bit too long, and then a few things that I've mentioned, they are just minor issues, nothing major at all. Before moving on to the story and the characters, there's one more thing that I would like to mention about the gameplay that I really enjoyed, and it is the open world itself, which looks amazing, has amazing environmental variety, and the various elements present within this open world, including the infected themselves, the wildlife, the bears, the wolves, the deer that you can hunt for meat, and the environment itself that you can use to your advantage, like hiding in the bushes to ambush your enemies or the freakers. And then one really cool thing that happened on multiple occasions with me was that while trying to take out enemy camps, hostile human camps, I ended up attracting either wild animals or the freakers, special infected as well on two occasions, and they ended up wiping out the entire hostile camp for me, following which I took them out. And it was really fantastic to see the hostile humans fighting the infected or the wild animals, and it was really unexpected and really crazy. And on one occasion I was trying to take out an enemy camp using stealth, got spotted after a while, so the bandits, they started to shoot at me. I responded as well. I wasn't aware of the fact that there was a horde nearby, and they started to pour in. So after a while, the bandits and we were all shooting at the horde, and it was crazy to look at, and we all got wiped out, and it was really fun. On another occasion later on in the game, I accidentally ended up leading a breaker into an enemy camp, and it was absolute chaos. It was a sight to look at actually, multiple armored guys, and they were shooting at him madly, and he took them all out, and I was just watching, hiding in the bushes. It was just ridiculously fun. The game itself is really serious, but I had plenty of fun moments throughout the game and I loved it. In that moment, it really felt like the breaker was working for me, and the way the baddies were reacting to his presence within the camp, it was just priceless. Moments like these really elevate the game to a whole new level. I just love it when things like this happen within games, unexpected fun to watch. I was just hiding there, he took out the entire camp for me, and then I took him out using stealth. It was comedy when I least expected it, and pure fun. Finally, let's move on to the story and the characters. The game puts you in the boots of Deacon St John, a biker who got separated from his wife Sarah right at the beginning of the zombie outbreak, and he's looking for her, expecting to see her alive someday. It took me a while to get connected to the story. The story, just like the gameplay and the trust building with camps and stuff, starts really slow, and it takes a while for you to figure out that Deacon is actually looking for his wife. And once you do, then you kind of start to see his perspective, and kind of start to see why he is the way he is. If you love good stories in games, this game is not going to disappoint you at all. The story in this one is actually really good. I initially had a very casual approach to the game. I was looking to get a good gun and engage a horde and take it out, because that was the main attraction for me. But once I got connected to the protagonist and felt the story, It was the thing that really made me complete the game because I wanted to know what happens next. The story and Deacon's character, they take time to grow on you, but once they do, you're gonna love them. Deacon's character has a surprising amount of depth, and his backstory, his perspective, and the way his character changes through the course of the story is something that I really enjoyed. Then the support cast is pretty cool too, whether it's Boozer, Deacon's friend who goes through a ton through the course of the game, or Ricky, a really likable character, or Iron Mike, a really believable character. The game gives you backstories on all these characters while you're out with them on different missions, and those interactions are really interesting. And these characters, they really feel natural. They all share a bond with Deacon, which evolves through the course of the story, which is fantastic. The facial expressions of all these different characters in cutscenes, they look amazing and convey emotions really well, and the cutscenes themselves are gorgeous. The story is divided in two different sections set in two different regions. After completing the first section of the game, when I finally moved to the second region, it felt like the start of season 2 of a TV show. That's exactly how it felt. And you cannot see the characters that you left behind in the season 1 or the section 1 of the game, and you don't get to go back to that area as well for a while. So it takes a good amount of time to get to see those guys again. You can get an idea of how good the characters are in this game when I tell you that I was actually missing all the characters from the season 1 or the section 1 of the game throughout the second season or second section until I got back to them. But that also tells you something about the second section of the game. But I actually didn't like the characters introduced in the second half of the game, which is true. I was constantly missing the guys from the first section of the game, but the good thing is you eventually do get back to them. The second section of the game was really interesting. Going in, my bike was almost fully upgraded. I had some good guns with upgrades, and I had used the Nero upgrades to boost my stats, and I had a good amount of skills as well. So gameplay wise, I was in a very good position, and I really liked the geography of the second region. It really feels fresh and new. And then this area also gives you access to some of the best weapons that the game has. Of course, you have to build trust with the camp, and of course, it takes time. But because you already have some good stuff on you, it doesn't feel painful. Characters introduced in the second section of the game, and even the big surprising character, I found them all to be boring personally. The camp was also kind of boring. I just really enjoyed the camps and the characters in the first section of the game. Another reason that really made me enjoy the first section of the game a whole lot more were the villains. The Rippers were fantastic. They had a mysterious vibe to them, they were menacing, psychotic, while the villains in the second half of the game were boring, especially when compared to the Rippers. Overall, the story and characters are fantastic, with believable voice acting. The story itself feels believable for the most part, and the post-apocalyptic feel that the game offers is fantastic. The ending was quite refreshing, and I also really enjoyed the missions where you have to stealthily listen to the conversations of the neuroscientists out there in the open world. The game conveys some really cool information about the freakers and their hood behavior and whatnot through these missions, and it was really cool. This is the best looking open world story driven zombie game out there. It's really disappointing that this game won't be getting a sequel. The game has amazing production values, and you can easily tell that there was a lot of effort put into it. The PC port is fantastic, and I think we are lucky to be living in a time when we can play PlayStation games on PC. Who would have thought that such a thing is gonna be a reality 5-6 years ago? It's really cool. Anyways, a puzzle for you guys. I said that I was missing the characters from the first section of the game a lot when I moved to the second one. Which character was I missing the most? What do you think? Do let me know down in the comment section. I think it should be pretty easy for you to figure out if you watched the entire video. And yeah, if you're looking for more zombie games, definitely do check out the video on the end screen. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Peace out.